So this is my review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 12, Episode 4. If you didn't catch my review for Episode 3, I will link that down in the description box. So Nene ends up going up to the float that Cynthia, Noelle, and Eva are on, and she goes over there to greet the ladies because she said that her and Cynthia were such good friends at one point, and they were like sisters that she's never going to not say hello to Cynthia if she sees her out somewhere. And so she goes over there and she greets Noelle, she greets Cynthia, and as she's getting off the float, she greets Eva, which I was surprised about because her and Eva weren't on best terms either the last time that they were together. And so I thought that it was good that all the ladies were able to be cordial with one another. Cynthia also greeted Nene and gave Nene a compliment, and so I thought that it was good that they didn't make a scene at this gay pride event because it kind of would have made them all look bad. And so I thought it was good that they didn't do that. Now, clearly, Eva still has a problem with Marlo, which if you don't know why Marlo and Eva are at odds, Marlo came at Eva really hard last season. I don't know what her reasoning was for coming at Eva so hard last time, but I guess Eva is still not over it. And so Eva sees that Marlo is there with Nene, and she calls Marlo Nene's lapdog, which I thought was funny because it's like they still don't like each other. And I still don't know the reason why Marlo came at Eva so hard last season. But we'll see what ends up happening with the two of them this season, because last season was a hot mess for them too. And Eva really put Marlo in her place last season. So we'll see if Marlo still starts to mess with Eva this season too. Porsha decides to meet with her own therapist. This is the same therapist that helped her when she was going through her harsh time with Cordell, and so she's really comfortable with this therapist, which I think it's good for her to go to therapy. I feel like she definitely needs therapy because all the situations in her relationships that she's had so far hasn't gone so well, and so she needs somebody to talk to that's outside of the group of the people that she would normally talk to, because it's just, you need somebody who's not going to really be judgy on you. And so she says that she feels like there's no hope in her relationship with Dennis because of the fact that he broke her trust. Now, when she talked about trust, her therapist asked her if Dennis actually earned her trust, or did she just give it to him right off the bat? And Porsha did admit that she did give him her trust right off the bat instead of making him earn it, even though she knew about his past relationships with other females and the way that those went down. She still gave him her trust right away anyway, which was most likely a mistake for her, and I think that she sees that now. Now, the therapist ends up telling her not to make life-changing decisions while she's upset, which I can understand what the therapist is saying, because it is true. You shouldn't make permanent decisions on temporary feelings, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I feel like Porsha at this point, obviously she wanted to get over Dennis. She didn't want to allow another man to disrespect her the way she's been disrespected before. And, you know, she doesn't really want to give him a chance at that point, but I do understand what the therapist was saying. So the therapist ended up asking her if the door is closed between her and Dennis ever having a relationship again. And she said that it was bolted. Like, she said that it was bolted shut, but that she can be cordial with Dennis for the sake of their daughter, which I think that Porsha is actually sounding mature in this situation, which, you know, Porsha usually comes off as kind of dumb. I don't want to be mean, but Porsha comes off really dumb at times. But in this situation and in this conversation with the therapist, I think that Porsha made a lot of sense for the first time in a long time. Kenya ends up going to visit Kandi. Her and Kandi clearly bonded during Kenya's pregnancy, which I think is good. I feel like Kenya and Kandi could have a really good relationship as long as Kenya's on her best behavior, because we know how Kenya gets sometimes. And so she was updating Kandi, you know, on how Brooklyn's doing and the milestones that she's going through, because I guess her daughter at this point in time was learning how to crawl. Now, Kandi was saying that her baby girl is due in November, and that's the same month that Kenya is having her birthday party for her daughter, so they can bond over that too. And I think that that's a good thing, because she clearly doesn't have Mark's help with anything, so she can kind of lean on Kandi a little bit. And so Kenya tells Kandi about the hard time she's been having with Mark. Now, Kandi said that she's actually witnessed Mark and Kenya bicker with one another. She's been there and present when they get into it with each other. And she says that Kenya is actually submissive in her relationship with Mark, which is definitely something that's surprising, because the way that Kenya has came off in the past, you wouldn't think that she would be completely submissive with Mark. But I can see that too from the previous episode, that she's definitely very submissive when it comes to them. She almost looks like she's afraid to speak her mind to Mark, which is not good in a relationship. And that's why I feel like her and Mark may have moved way too fast, because you learn how to communicate with one another before you take it to that next step, and they clearly didn't do that. And so Kenya was saying that Mark doesn't want to travel on his birthday with the nanny, and Kenya wants the nanny to be there because she wants to be able to get alone time with Mark, because they never get any time apart. And when Mark is around Kenya, all he wants to do is pay attention to the baby. And so she feels like she's at a standstill because he doesn't want to go, because he doesn't want the nanny to be there. And I think that he just doesn't know how to make compromises. And I, at this point, don't think that Mark actually wants to be with Kenya, because I feel like if he really wanted to be with Kenya, she wouldn't even have to bring it to his attention that she needs more attention from him. Like, I don't feel like she would even have to say that to him, especially this early in their relationship. Cynthia and Eva end up going out to eat together in New York, and Eva goes up to the table and she sees that there's 3 menus there, and she's confused because she's like, why is there 3 menus when it's just the 2 of us? So Cynthia goes and tells her that Marlo is coming, and so Eva says that she doesn't want to be around Marlo because she's a nasty person, okay? And I feel like, Cynthia didn't learn her lesson from last season, and how her and Nene actually ended up falling out completely was because Cynthia invited Kenya to a party that Nene was going to be at, and Cynthia told Nene that Kenya wasn't going to be there, and Kenya ended up being there. And so Nene had an issue with that. And it seems like Cynthia really didn't learn her lesson, because she did the same thing with Eva. If somebody tells you they don't want to be around somebody, respect the fact that they don't want to be around them. Do you have to not invite the person because somebody doesn't want to be around the person? No, because they don't really have to cross paths with each other. They can kind of stay far away from each other, but at least give someone a warning so that they can decide whether or not they want to go or not. And so Eva is literally ordering so much food. She ordered a ton of food, and Cynthia thought that she was ordering for the both of them, but no, she was ordering for herself. And she's pregnant, so she's living it up at the moment, because she really needs to enjoy these cravings that she's having, because I'm pretty sure she's not going to indulge as much as she's doing once she has her baby, because she still does some type of modeling. And so I think she's enjoying this pregnancy very much. And so Cynthia says that she's skeptical about Marlo inviting her to dinner, because Marlo's loyalty is with Nene. Now, Eva took this point to throw some shade at Marlo and say that Marlo isn't loyal because Marlo seems like she's not really loyal to anybody. I don't even think Marlo's loyal to herself at sometimes. It's just like Marlo is really, really messy, and that Bravo brings her in to the seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta so that she can bring some type of mess. And Marlo seems like she's trying to be a different person this season, but you can see her messiness come out, because when she shows up to the dinner with Eva and Cynthia, Marlo seems like she's surprised that Eva's there too, because she probably didn't know that Eva was going to be there either, because like I said, Cynthia leaves things out that are important for people to know. And so Marlo tries to be a little nice to Eva, but you can tell that it's fake nice, and Eva's not having it. Eva packs up her dinner. She leaves a little bit of duck on the table for Marlo, because Marlo said she wanted some of the duck, and then Eva packs her stuff and she leaves, which I think was a good idea for her to do, because she's pregnant. She doesn't need to be sitting there arguing, getting stressed out over an argument over a woman that is not even anything important to her. And so she leaves, and Marlo calls Eva a broke fraud. And I have an issue with Marlo saying things like that to people, because Marlo acts like she's never been broke before. And I'm not saying Eva's broke. I don't think Eva's broke. Just because Eva may not be the richest woman on the planet, maybe just because she doesn't buy 10 million things of designer bags and designer clothes that Marlo buys, doesn't mean that the girl's broke. She was saying that she didn't do anything wrong to Eva last season for Eva to be mad at her. All she was doing was telling the information that her bridesmaid was saying about Eva. And so I just feel like Marlo was messy for even telling the information that, Eva's bridesmaid and ex-friend was saying about her, because that woman could be lying. You don't even know. You can't even verify whether or not what that woman was saying was true. And so Marlo was definitely being messy in that situation. And so Marlo tells Cynthia that she has temporary custody of her nephews, and I feel like she's trying to use that as an excuse to say that she's changed. But calling Eva a broke fraud and being fake nice to her when you walked in is not different Marlo. That's the same Marlo who's always been there. So I'm skeptical about whether or not Marlo's actually changed or if she's just pretending like that for this first part of the season, because the season really just started. And so she says that her and Nene don't talk and that Nene did a shady interview about her because she saw the interview Nene did about her. But Cynthia has to stop trying to play the victim sometimes, because she also did a few interviews about Nene as well. So the two of them have talked about each other publicly, and that's something that they shouldn't have done. They should have kept it between one another, and both of them didn't do that. So Cynthia's not a victim and Nene's not a victim either. They're both wrong in the situation. And so, you know, Cynthia says that she's tired of taking the high road because she feels like every time she gets into it with Nene, she's the one apologizing and she's the one who's trying to make things work out, and she doesn't want to do it this time. Now, Marlo says that Cynthia needs to have a sit down with Nene because they've been friends for years. And then she takes another shot at Eva and says that the friendship with her and Eva is new, basically trying to say that her friendship with Nene is more important because she knew her longer. That's not necessarily true. You can know somebody for years and that not be the type of friendship you need to be in, but meet somebody, just meet somebody and they could be the best friend you've ever had in your life. So I don't agree with the whole you know this person for longer, so that's how you know that person's really your friend. So I feel like Marlo was just trying to be messy, and I feel like she may be trying to come between Cynthia and Eva's friendship. So Cynthia says that she likes the new Marlo, and I feel like Cynthia's too gullible because I feel like she's automatically assuming that Marlo's changed when she literally just had this conversation with her. You don't even know what she's going to do the remainder of the season, and you're already saying that she changed. And then she gives her a hug, and Marlo says that she loves both Cynthia and Nene. I don't see how Marlo is actually friends with Cynthia or that she gives a damn about Cynthia, but we'll see what ends up happening with them the rest of the season, because that was kind of odd. Porsha decides that it's time for her to go back to work. She feels like she's taken enough time off, which she definitely took an extended leave of absence, and now she's going back. She seems like she's really nervous about going back because she's been gone for such a long time, but I don't feel like she needs to feel nervous. I feel like the people on Dish Nation, I can't speak today, Dish Nation actually care about her, and I feel like they know she's going through a tough time, and I don't feel like they're going to make her feel uncomfortable at all. And so she ends up bringing her daughter with her to work, and she said that she feels like she's a single mom. After her meeting with her therapist, she feels like she's a single mom now. And I mean, you could say she is, but if Dennis is actually, helping her take care of her daughter, I don't feel like she's necessarily considered a full-on single mom because she's not doing it completely alone. And so hopefully her and Dennis can work something out when it comes to their daughter. I know that they're back together now, but I'm speaking in terms of what's going on in this season so far. But she said that she gets a lot of help from her mom. So I think that that's a good thing. And she did end up going into work for her first day, and she said that it was really good. She said that she didn't even think of Dennis one time while she was at work, and that she said that she doesn't want to take any days off, that she'll work extra time if she has to, because it took her mind completely off of her situation with Dennis, which is a good thing. And so she basically is happy she went back to work, and I feel like she probably regrets now spending all that time away from work. And so now that she's working, her mom's going back to work too, and so she needs to find a nanny for her daughter to help her out and also help out with Dennis too. But she said that with the nanny, she won't have to communicate so much with Dennis because she's trying to heal, so she really doesn't want to be in too much communication with him. So she wants to use the nanny to help them communicate with one another without them actually really having to speak too much. So hopefully they can figure something out. Nene goes out for drinks with Marlo because Marlo asked her to go out for drinks, and Marlo ends up showing up, and she tells Nene what happened when she met with Cynthia, and she said that Eva was there and that she didn't know that Eva was going to be there. So basically Cynthia did the same thing to her that she did to Eva. Neither one of them knew that each other was going to be there, and I feel like Cynthia needs to learn to work on that. So She said that she didn't do anything to Eva. The only thing she did was tell about what her bridesmaids said about her. Also, that's still doing something to her because you're, talking about information you don't even know is true or not, and you're spreading rumors about the girl and you don't even know her like that. So I honestly think that she did start the trouble between her and Eva, but Eva left. I don't feel like she should even care that Eva got up and left. It's like, you don't like her, she doesn't like you, so you should be thankful she did get up and leave so you guys didn't have to sit at the table and argue. So Marlo says that she told Cynthia that the both of them should have kept the BS that they were going through to themselves, that they should never put it on social media because that blew things up even more and it made things worse. Now, Nene says that Cynthia did interviews about her first, that Cynthia actually did multiple interviews about her first, and then they went on to show clips of all the interviews that Cynthia did about Nene. And so, Marlo tries to get Nene to apologize to Cynthia because she feels like Cynthia deserves an apology for Nene for the things that Nene said about her. But Nene was not having that, and she said that she's not sitting down with Cynthia and that she's going to tell Marlo for the last time she's not sitting down with her and that Marlo needs to stay out of their problems. Now, I think that Marlo needs to stay out of it. Every time somebody tries to play the peacemaker on one of these shows, they end up the one who gets all the backlash because they're going back and forth between two people who have issues with one another, telling the other person what the other person was saying. And I just feel like when you get involved in that type of situation and you try to play peacemaker, you put yourself smack dab in the middle of somebody else's situation that had absolutely nothing to do with you. So I think that it was good that Nene actually told Marlo that she needed to stay out of it. So Nene gets pissed off because Marlo says that she feels like Nene needs to give Cynthia an apology, and she didn't say that Cynthia needs to give Nene an apology when she went to go meet with Cynthia, and Nene feels like Marlo's trying to put all the blame on her for the situation between her and Cynthia and how they ended up falling out. And Nene gets mad about that. And I feel like she feels like she has to be on defense when it comes to friends because she doesn't know who her true friends actually are, because every time she gets a friend, she feels like they're backstabbing her or being two-faced in some type of way. And I feel like that's what she feels about Marlo at this point, because Marlo seems like she's putting all the blame on her. Now, I don't necessarily think that that was Marlo's intention, but when you get involved in such a sensitive situation between two people who are really, really close, almost like sisters, I feel like you're asking to be put in drama when you do something like that. And so Marlo may have meant well, but the way that she was wording things came off wrong. And like I said, it's not what you say, it's the way that you say. And so Nene felt like it was an issue with what Marlo said to her. And I guess so she didn't argue with Marlo. She ended up getting up and leaving, okay? Because she says she's not going to take the blame for everything that happened between her and Cynthia, which I don't think she should take the blame. I think that her and Cynthia are both to blame. Cynthia needs to learn how to open her mouth and vocalize things. When she feels like she doesn't like something that Nene did, she needs to learn how to say something right then and there instead of letting it build up and then letting it explode later on. And I feel like Nene needs to learn how to talk to Cynthia better than the way that she speaks to her. So I feel like they're both to blame in that situation. Kandi and Todd's son Ace start asking them all types of questions about the baby because he doesn't see his mother with a pregnant belly, so he's confused about the situation. So to eliminate the confusion that he has, they end up taking him to their surrogate's doctor's appointment so that he can see his little sister's ultrasound. Now, when he sees the baby's ultrasound, he gets so excited. I think it's so cute that he's excited to be a big brother. A lot of the times when somebody's having a new sibling, they're not that excited about it because they're used to being the baby, and he seems like he's excited for it, so I think that that's a good thing. Now, Kandi still thinks that the whole process of surrogacy is weird because she's not actually pregnant. They told her that once the baby is born, they're going to hand the baby off to her and Todd, and then they won't have no more communication with their surrogate. And Kandi was confused about that because like, she just carried our baby and we just cut off communication right away. But it's like, that's a part of the agreement. You don't want to have a relationship with your surrogate. You know what I mean? Like, that can get awkward. Things can go wrong. If you watch those Lifetime movies where somebody's a surrogate and they go crazy and they try to keep the baby, it's like, it's just for your protection why they do that. So Kandi and Todd are leaving the appointment, and Kandi ends up getting a text message from Kenya. Kenya wants her to go talk to her because she's upset about something. So Kandi goes to visit Kenya, and Kenya and Kandi were talking about how they both want breast reductions because their boobs are a little too big and they want to get their boobs done. So they we're talking about that, and Kenya was saying how her boobs haven't even been touched because her and Mark clearly have not been being intimate with one another. She says that her sex life with him never picked back up after she got pregnant, and so they're lacking in the whole sex department in their relationship, which is really difficult because it's like in a relationship, sex is definitely one of the top things in a relationship. It's not the first most important thing, but it's definitely important in a relationship. And so the fact that they're not even being intimate with one another is odd in itself. So she was saying how she went on her anniversary trip alone because she had asked Kandi, I guess, what places they could go to for their anniversary. And so Kandi was of the mindset that Kenya and Mark went together, but no, Kenya and the baby went by themselves. Mark did not go because she wanted to bring the nanny there so that they can have alone time. He didn't want to travel with the nanny, so he didn't go. And so that's why I just think that Mark clearly doesn't want to be with Kenya. And I feel like if he doesn't want to be with Kenya, he should just outright say he doesn't want to be with her, because it's just like you're leading her on at this point. It's like, like, you know what I mean? Like, just end the relationship with one another if you don't really want to be with her. And so, Kenya starts breaking down crying because she really doesn't know what to do in her relationship with Mark. She doesn't want to say the wrong things because she says she doesn't want to argue with him. Now, Kenya is definitely very argumentative. Like, we see her argue so much throughout the seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta. All the ladies do it, not just Kenya. But when you see her with Mark, she seems like she's almost afraid to speak her mind. She's almost afraid to even bring up any topics to him. And then she told Kandi, that she's tried to express to Mark how she's feeling, and Mark seems to not listen to her, and she doesn't want to say certain things because she knows it's going to turn into an argument, because she says that Mark is very argumentative and that he likes to argue, and that, he says things in arguments that are off limits. Like, I guess he goes too far. When he's arguing with her, he says things that hurt her, and she gets started to break down about it. And I felt bad for her in the scene. I know that she probably does things that we don't see that Mark goes through with Kenya, but this is Kenya telling her side. So from what she's saying, he says really harsh things to her when they get into arguments. And so Kandi was very blunt and straightforward, and she told her that if you're breaking down like this when you guys get into arguments, he must be calling you out of your name. And Kenya was basically saying, yeah, I mean, he says a lot of things to me that's wrong, but she wouldn't say what he was saying. And I guess she doesn't want to put all her business completely out there, which I think is a good thing. But I feel like the two of them just need to end it, and there's divorce rumors out there, but so far I haven't heard whether or not they're actually proceeding with the divorce or not. So, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening with Kenya and Mark, but I just feel like there's no coming back from what they've already been going through. I just think that their relationship is done at this point. So the episode cut there. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Kenya ended up breaking down crying. She got up and she went into another room because she said she didn't want to cry, but she broke down crying because she said that she was never protected as a child. And so she wants to do everything she can to protect her daughter, and she feels like the relationship between her and Mark is toxic for their daughter. And so she walked out the room and started crying. Kandi seemed like she didn't even know what to do with the situation, and some of us don't really know how to react in those types of situations, and that's how Kandi seemed, but I feel like she's trying to be supportive. I thought that it was a pretty good episode, though. I want to know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section. Please keep comments in the comment section respectful, because I don't want any negativity down in the comment section, but I do want to hear you guys' thoughts on this episode. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. I have so many videos I've already done and many more to come. Thank you to all my subscribers for the support. I appreciate you guys so very much, and I have so many more videos to come for you guys. So thank you once again for the support, and I will see you in my next video.